Hey, it's Bryon Lape back with some photography stuff. We haven't done photography stuff on this channel in a long time, and I thought it was time I got back to some. I do have some new to me. I got some lenses from my uncle that I really need to start doing reviews of when the weather gets nicer, but I saw this article the other day and I had to stop by. So unfortunately, in order to get the entire title in, I have to include some sidebar ads and links to other things, so sorry for that. So this is Oliver Kimia, I guess, from fstoppers.com. Don't break the bank. Best lenses under $300 for Canon and Nikon. Now, it's just interesting because lots of people will poo-poo, ooh, $300. Okay, this is not going to be pro-level glass unless it's used, but you can get some really good used stuff. But, you know, look at this. I mean, just looking here, this looks like it looks like a wide-angle lens, a 2.8, 14 millimeter. That's like fisheye. You can see the lens there. So that is a very fast lens. And then we have a 1.8 prime 85 millimeter. This is perfect for portraits and stuff outside. Now this is a Canon lens, but that, I bet you, it focuses very rapidly. You might get a slight vignetting, but I highly doubt it. But that's probably inexpensive. It's amazing because a lot of people don't like these fixed focal length lenses anymore. They like zooms and all that crap. So lenses are primordial. Yet many photographers tend to attach mediocre entry-level zoom glasses on their, zoom glasses, that they have plenty of affordable quality glasses on the market. Here's a personal selection of some of the best that can be found under $300. Jack of all trades, master of none. That's what I see as a regular basis with many beginners who tend to spend most of their budget on a camera body to finally end up with an insipid kit lens. Yeah, although this is less true nowadays with the Nikons because their entry-level cameras can't run the crap lenses, or the older lenses, because they have to have internal autofocusing, which makes the lens heavier and more expensive. So that's kind of weird, although it'd be cheap glass. So anyway, entry-level ones are not necessarily bad, but they are slow and don't offer much creative options for users. Yep, that's for sure. And many times, and they zoom in and out when you're at either end, it's going to be soft on focus too. And then some of them, when you zoom in, you lose several stops. I've seen some that are like 3.5 to 4.6, and I think 5.6 rather, and I think I have one. So that's 2 stops slower. Which is fine if you're on a tripod. Well, maybe. Depends on what you're trying to get hold of. Always recommend to spend less on the camera body and save the money to purchase a fun lens that opens new possibilities. And quite often that lens is going to go with you. So you're going to swap camera bodies and you're going to keep all your lenses. There are plenty of options of good lenses that don't necessarily have to be expensive. I know you can easily spend $3,000 on a prime lens. But the cost-effective 50 millimeter costs only 100. So it says 50 millimeter. Again, 50 millimeter is a good all-purpose lens. When you want to zoom in, you step forward. When you want to zoom out, you step backward. But even seasoned photographers don't always need, and then you put that on, see this on a crop body. So on the Nikon realm, that's half. So it's going to be 75 millimeter. And then I forget if Canon is 1.5 or 1 1/4, 1.4, not 1 1/4, 1.4, 1 1/4 would be 1.25. But even seasoned photographers always see the ultimate lenses. As a landscape photographer, I mainly use wide-angle focal, but I sometimes need to shoot with a telephoto lens. Due to my limited use, I decided to go with affordable Canon 7300 millimeter, which produces great images despite the poor build quality and relatively slow autofocus. But for my type of shooting style, and the dog's barking, I can live with that. So here we go. Let's skip some of so for the Canon EF mount, full frame and APS-C, this is the compact. So this is most of your prosumer and entry-level cameras are some kind of crop factor. So you have 50 millimeter and 85 millimeter. So these are great all-purpose lenses. Not sure on the crop factor. This might be 70 and 105, something like that. I'm not sure. Maybe 100 as far as compared to a 35 millimeter full frame or film stock. So look at these prices, $129. That is excellent for 2.8 at any focal length. 50 millimeter 1.4. That is a very fast lens, and that's wide open. I mean, you can't get much more wide open than that without just having nothing on the camera. $300. That's good. And I bet you can find it on sale for like $250 or something like that. Lens came out in 1993, but it's still classic, small and cheap. So some of these, but the dreamy look disappears when stopped down to, okay, that's interesting. So you go down one stop and you miss the dreamy look. But see, at 1.4, you're going to have awesome background blur off your, and you're going to have very shallow depth of field. So anyway, 1.8. Image quality, good price. I didn't read that. This comes with a modern STM focus system and delivers sharp images, great glass for video work, travel, and street photography. Yeah, 40, anything in like the 40 to 60 millimeter range is great, just all round things. And you start getting in the 85, 75, 85, 90. It's great for portraits, as it says right here. And then you have the zoom, a decent zoom. See, it goes from 4 to 5.6, so you're losing one stop when you zoom in. Feels cheap in hand. It lacks image stability, and autofocus might be not be the best. But again, $175. I mean, come on, that's awesome. I mean, I have a lens for my Nikon that was in this range. It's about that price when I first started, and now I have one that is, well, I have on the other side of it. I've been looking at the 75 to 200, but it's like $4,000, and you know, I ain't got that kind of money. So the EFS mount, I don't know the Nikon mounts. I mean the Canon mounts. I run a Nikon F mount, but anyway, so this is good. It's a good all around. It's like a good price. You've got that is wide angle. It's almost fisheye. You do lose half a stop going in between, but that's fine. And then so a wide angle lens, again 24 millimeters, pretty wide. Although I think it's cropped, so it's going to probably be more closer to 40. 2.8, that's good. $129 for a 2.8. Wow, that's awesome. And because some of these lenses, they've been basically making the lens with minor modifications for 30 years, and so that's why, and that's also what helps drive the price down. And there's not as much glass. I mean, it's a very short focal length. There's not as much glass in there, and it's good glass. So let's flip over to Nikon and not just take the next 4 hours to do this article read. So the Nikon f2.8, 28 millimeter. Yep, 285. That is a popular lens. That's part of why it's 285. 50 millimeter 1.8, which is awesome. It just depends on the type you get. The two variants, the older and cheaper AF and the newer AFS, which I believe that's the internal. That's the I forget what the S stands. Not servo. That's the internal autofocus. If you're on a lower end newer camera. Although they've taken it out of the 7000 line now too, which is part of why I have not upgraded to the whatever the new 7000 line is, because they took support out for the older lenses. I have a D7000 and I got some stuff from my uncle that don't work with his. He's got a 5200 and a 3500, and it won't meter. It doesn't have the autofocus motor, so it won't autofocus. It's a pretty decent zoom. It was about $250 20 some odd years ago. And so, you know, it's good. I've actually put it on my camera and it works fine. But if I had the newer 7000 line body, it wouldn't work. So when I upgrade again, it's going to be to more like an a D850 or 900 or whatever they come out with. I also want full frame. So dirt cheap telephoto lenses for, this is, and there's a Tamron lens in the same. I actually have one. They have an integrated 2, and it's a little bit more than this, but it's better glass. It's heavier, and it has image stabilization as well. I think it runs like 280. If the last time I looked, I forget exactly now. But I started with a $120 film lens in the Tamron in this range, and it worked very well. And then I upgraded, and now I don't do that kind of photography very much anymore, and so I don't use it as often. But so the F-mount DX, so these are things that are made for, these are already cropped, and the numbers are supposed to already reflect that. The FX is what I think we had it here. This is full frame, but you can put it on a DX mount. So I tend to buy here. I do not tend to buy here because I want a full frame eventually. So here's the Tamron. Here's the one I was talking about. So no, it's actually it's come down in price. Then it's only $200. No, that's the other one. That's the 18 to 200. There is a Tamron 770 to 300 millimeter. So yeah, these are all good. Obviously here that is pretty slow, but you know, if nice bright sunshine, you're out doing stuff. Wide, it's very wide angle. Losing half a stop, but here 35 millimeter 1.8, that's very fast, and the Tamron is very slow. My gosh, you lose what, 3 stops of light going, but 18 to 200, that is an incredibly wide range. Unbelievable. So now we're getting into stuff that for both. Now some of these are manual focus or manual exposure. I don't know why, but It's pretty good if you want to take, very ultra wide, 8 millimeter. Holy crap, that is really, really wide. So here's the AF 70 to 300. This is the one I have. And it was not $130 when I bought it, but I bought it like 10 years ago. It was like $180. This lens this was my workhorse for years. Outside stuff, inside not so much, because 70 millimeter on a crop sensor is you end up with 105, and that's a little too close usually. But for almost all my outdoor stuff, this is what I was doing on that lens, and I've got scores. Go look at my Flickr feed, and a lot of them are on this lens. This is a fantastic lens for a DX, and that's this is integrated. It'll work on a film, but it's really made for digital. But it is a little slow, so you do lose a stop of light there, so keep that in mind. And then the Sigma, my brother has this, and it's pretty good too. It's a little bit faster autofocus than the Tamron, and it's a little heavier. And the other thing with the Sigma is the zoom. It's a rotation zoom, and they go opposite directions, so you got to keep that in mind. But he has that lens, loves it. All right, I like the things on this article. This is awesome. I'm not going to bother with. Well, we can look at comments, but we're running out of time. Plastic, more plastic. Yeah, but the whole point is these are lighter and they're less expensive lenses. I think this person misses the whole point. Yeah, you can get full metal lenses and pay $2,000 for them. The whole point is to be under $300. But these lenses, I mean, I can speak for this one. This has got good flexibility, even though it is a little on the slow side. But if you're out doing wildlife photography and other things, your subject's quite a ways away from you. It's very good. It's for the money. It is a very fast autofocus, and they do have a DI2, which has servo image stability in it, but it costs, I want to say it's probably more than $300, but this one does not. But is a great lens to get started. And if they can find the old one that'll work on a film camera too, that's fine. And these are very good recommendations. I agree. I agree with Oliver on all of these. This is very good, but it shows you can spend a little bit of money, a little bit more than say $100 kit lens, and get better flexibility, and then grow with it. Now you'll eventually outgrow these, except for maybe the ultra wides, because it's extremely rare you're going to find some of these with bigger apertures, unless you want to pay a lot of money. But some of those $2,000-$3,000 lenses you can find used after 5 or 6 years old. It's been refurbished and half price or something like that, and you save up your money. But I agree that with the basic contention of the article is to spend your money on your glass, not on your camera, and that is true. A lot of these cameras, the same sensor is in multiple cameras, and it's just the software that's in there. Maybe that's a little bit better at the auto features are a little bit better in the higher end cameras, but flip it over to manual and learn how to do flip it fully manual, exposure and focusing, and really learn and play and do all kinds of things. All right, thanks for stopping by. Thanks so much for everything, and thanks for retweeting. Bye.